bells are ringing, and this time they are ringing in the Kremlin. A top Russian official has just written a public article claiming that a civil war is one of the biggest challenges facing Putin's Russia. This is not paranoia, this is his job. He warns that country faces a collapse of the political system and a catastrophic loss of public trust. This fear is justified. Putin's war failure has triggered a crisis of betrayal. Young Russians are singing anti-war songs, pro-war propagandists are calling for the collapse of the Russian state, and soldiers are refusing to follow orders. But the ultimate insult is the good czar, bad boy strategy. You see, to solve this whole problem, the official is recommending a merit-based system for leadership in Russia. But guess what? Putin is rebuilding the Russian Empire because he just elevated 24 of his relatives to official roles. The collapse is coming, and Putin is too busy building a dynasty to stop it. Now, this is not just me who's calling all this. Even Russians are starting to notice a trend. They are noticing how in 1994, Russia got involved in a war, and 3 years later, the Tsar was gone, the empire was gone. 1989, Russia just gets out of a 10-year war in Afghanistan, and 2 years later, the Soviet Empire collapses. And now, Putin is in a war that has been going on for longer than World War I. And that's why they're calling out the Russian collapse, and they're calling it in front of the Russian public. Take a listen.
You understand yourself what needs to be done now, because I repeat, very, very harsh times are coming. A prolonged war will turn into an economic crisis. The economic crisis will turn into a social one, and the social one will then turn into a political one.
I want to address our viewers. Those who don't know what will happen tomorrow should open the history textbooks for the 9th to 10th grades. Look at what was happening here 100 years ago. 100, 110, 120. What contributed to this? The First World War, right? 3 years of war, the impoverishment of the population, discontent in the army, a decline in production, and as a result, a civil war. Well, revolution and then civil war. Yes, at first they removed the Tsar. They thought it would be better that way. And only later did the Bolsheviks come. If you don't believe Maxim and me, then read a history textbook. Just change the dates and the names, and the whole puzzle will come together immediately. I assure you.
Yura, I'll tell you that 3 years of an unpopular war is the limit. I've read memoirs that say, after 3 years of an unpopular war, in December 1916, the first refusals of Russian troops to go on the attack began. What? The merchants are partying back home while we're supposed to go under machine gun fire? This is the end of 1916. It already started 3 months before February 1917. It's clear that the guys...
Well, then the bread shortages started.
Nevertheless, this had already happened in the past. If you don't believe us, believe history.
History has a way of repeating itself. It moves in a spiral.
Everything moves in a spiral, guys.
You see, the Kremlin is seeing all this too. And that's why a Kremlin official just published a shocking article in a Russian media outlet. This article was titled, "Who Are We?" And this was written by the head of the Presidential Executive Office for Analysis of Social Processes. Basically, he's a sociologist, and his job is to look out for trends like these. So, in this article, he puts it simple as day. Civil war is one of the biggest challenges that Russia is facing. Now, he also points out other challenges that we'll cover in just a second. But luckily, he's not one of those people who's just pointing out problems. He has solutions too. After all, he works for the Kremlin. So, the solution he offers for the civil war problem was pretty simple. Russia has to build a united and cohesive society. For this, he said that Russia needs to adopt the ideology of "we don't abandon our own." Now, I'll be honest, I think he needs to send that message to the Russian commanders on the front lines, because this is how they are treating their own soldiers. Take a listen.
If you don't listen to commands, if you will abandon your tasks, I swear on my mother's life, I swear on my children's lives, I will personally shoot you, I'll report everyone missing, and then I'll shoot everyone. I don't give a fuck who's above you. All of you, your whole group, you fucking bastards, except for that man over there. Here you are, all you bastards. I'm telling you, prove that you're men.
He goes on to say that this war that Putin started is actually a good thing. And again, he does work for the Kremlin. What do you guys think he was going to say? But he has a very unique way of spinning this war into a positive thing. And trust me, you're going to be surprised, so sit down. He says that before this war, the Russian elite was solely focused on sending their children overseas and building a retirement plan abroad. But now, because of the special military operation, the Russian elite cannot leave the country. And that's a very good thing, he claims. Now, I'll be honest, I consider myself a very positive person, but I did not have this in mind at all. So, gotta give credit where credit is due. Russians are very good at finding positivity. Now, let's continue with the article though. Now, he also says that one of the other big problems that Russia is facing is loss of public trust in the government. And let's be honest, if my government tells me that they're launching a 3-day special military operation, and that operation is still going on 3.5 years later, I'll lose some trust too. But don't worry, he has a solution. To solve this issue, he says Russia needs to create a system in which leadership roles are filled based on a merit-based system. That way, the most capable individuals are put in the position of power. And again, I think he needs to send this article to Putin. According to an article that just came out this month, Putin has elevated 24 of his own relatives in official roles, which is a 100-year record even for a country like Russia. Now, I'm sure you guys know, roughly 110 years ago, there was this thing called the Russian Empire, ruled by Tsar Nicholas II. And now Putin is basically trying to rebuild that empire with his family and his friends right in the middle of it. There is no merit-based system in Russia, and only people that Putin trusts get power. Now, this could be why Putin is losing support for his war. And I know what you guys are going to say. Russia is not a country where public opinion matters. But nonetheless, they still do polls, and the recent polls were not good for Putin. In Russia, for the first time since the invasion started, 56% of Russians say they are very tired of the Ukraine war, with 83% admitting to war fatigue. Support for war is down 20%, inflation is soaring, taxes are up, and 3 times as many people say their lives are worse than it was before the war started. But at least look at the positive. The Russian elite is suffering with the people. They cannot leave the country, so they gotta be happy about that. Now, I have a question for everyone watching. What would you do in a situation like this if you were the Tsar of Russia, when your public is happy about a war you started? Now, did you guys say that you would pull out of that war? Well, that's exactly why you're not the Tsar, because you're not thinking like a Tsar. This is what Putin is doing. The Kremlin plans on record spending on law enforcement and security services. The lesson here is simple. If people are mad, you gotta increase the budget for your secret police in the name of law enforcement, of course. That's what Stalin did, but as Gorbachev found out a little later, you can only do this for so long. At the end of the day, the bill always comes due. And unfortunately for Russia, it cannot afford that bill. This is why we're seeing even defense executives, people who are building weapons for Putin, people who are benefiting from this war are warning about a 1991 type collapse. This is something I have shown you guys before, but if you missed it, take a listen.
Реальный сектор.
The real sector of the economy, again with the exception of those working in the defense industry in one form or another, is in a very bleak situation because money has become expensive. Devaluation is rising, costs are rising, and there is no access to affordable credit. Everyone is facing cash flow gaps, and we're seeing the return of barter deals, just like in the forgotten days of the 1990s. And of course, in these conditions, there can be no economic growth.
В этой ситуации никакого роста быть не может.
In fact, the war costs are so high in blood and in money that even Putin cannot hide it anymore. Based on a recent analysis, Russian casualties have reached 1.1, maybe even 1.2 million people. 110,000 of those casualties happened in the city of Pokrovsk. Now, of course, Putin does not want to admit this. That's why he went out to the public a few weeks ago and talked about how his army has surrounded the city, when in reality, this was not true. It wasn't true when he said it, it's not true even more than 2 weeks later now. But it's not surprising that Putin is lying. But what is surprising is Russians are now calling out this lie. We are seeing Russian war bloggers, people who are pro-war, publicly asking for proof from Putin for all these claims he are making, because they know the city is not surrounded and they know Putin is lying. Just take a listen.
I think what we need to do is to give Ukraine the capacity to hit the military or defense industry of Russia, and whatever equipment then is needed for that. I think that's the key.
Now, I'm sure you guys have heard, Russia is gaining ground in Prokhorov's direction. It's nowhere close to what Putin is claiming. And we have to remember, Putin wanted to capture the city last November 2024. And we are now halfway through November 2025, and Russian soldiers are still not safe in the city. Just take a look at this next clip. It's shocking how dangerous it is for everyone involved because Ukrainian drones are everywhere. This is one of the most insane clips I have seen. So watch.
Yeah. This is the one I think you can hear the drones in.
Yeah.
Она упала. Бежим! Стой, тихо! Тихо! Нет, еще за.
Yeah.
Блядь, я 300! 300! 300! Срочно, нога!
Yeah, the audio didn't quite come through.
You did it?
Well, at least not in my headphones, but it it's probably going to come through in the thing. But you can hear that screeching noise.
Yeah.
And there was probably at least 3 drones that hit this. I think these guys were in a shipping container.
Нет, нам пизда.
There's that sound.
Yeah.
Она упала. Бежим! Стой, тихо! Тихо! Нет, еще за.
There it is.
Блядь, я 300! 300! 300! Срочно, нога! Жгут! Блядь!
Well, that's the same guy who was yelling, "Be quiet."
Пацаны! Блядь!
Yeah, we were when we were looking at the guy in the boat. He had a tourniquet already on
Ready.
his leg,
Which
So-
is not a bad idea, right? Shouldn't that be, like, what could be the downside of that?
No, there isn't. It's not a bad
Okay.
idea. I mean, I don't know how you'd keep it up and not have it fall down your knees, but it's not the worst idea.
Yeah.
I used to keep my tourniquet in my med kit, but in Ukraine, they got a better idea. You wear it on your shoulder, so people don't have to dig around if you need it. Yeah.
Пацаны! Пацаны!
Well,
Oh.
the bad thing for these guys is they had 3 drones hit this house, and there's a drone overhead watching, and they didn't see anyone come out. So they're going to keep hitting this target. And this one guy is wounded. There's a rule we got in the SEALs. First of all, we never send one person anywhere. There's always a swim buddy. And the smallest number of men on a field who can support themselves and bring out a wounded guy is 3. And more often you want 4. But again, these are the sort of things that you teach your soldiers. These guys, who knows what they're doing.
Now, that's just a small part of what we're doing every single week on our brand new series, Battlefield Breakdown. Unfortunately though, a lot of these clips we cannot post here on YouTube because YouTube would just restrict our videos or even delete it. But this is the reality of modern warfare, and I think it's important that we cover it. That's why we built our own platform, Basics Insider. We built it from scratch so we have no restrictions. We don't have someone telling us what we can cover and what we cannot cover. We also don't run any ads. That way, we don't have to worry about what is something advertisers would approve of and what is something an advertiser wouldn't approve of. We run this website through support from you guys. So if you're someone who's interested in watching videos like these and interested in topics that YouTube doesn't want us covering, then you should definitely check out our website, basicsinsider.com. You can also click the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen. Once you sign up, you'll be able to watch all the videos that we haven't been able to upload here on YouTube. And on top of that, you'll be supporting the channel and supporting our coverage. So thank you so much. My name is Sam, and I'll see you guys in the next one.